What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today.
So Jonny Arnett put out a video in which he breaks down every NBA player that deserves a statue for a particular franchise, why they deserve it. And maybe, for the first time in my life, I vehemently disagree with Jonny Arnett's take on players that deserve a Lakers statue. And really, it has to do with him believing LeBron James needs a statue and his logic for it, but also putting Pau Gasol in an honorable mention category. And I believe if you're going to let LeBron James get a statue, Pau Gasol deserves one before LeBron James, and LeBron should be an honorable mention, not Pau Gasol. Take a look at the video.
Then you have the statue-happy Los Angeles Lakers. They already have George Mikan, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal. Now I will say this, because of how many statues the Lakers have outside of Crypto Arena, I think the bar is set a little bit lower for them. So a couple players that I think need a statue are actually James Worthy and LeBron James. James Worthy was the third head of the three-headed monster in the 1980s, which are known as the Showtime Lakers. Big Game James was absolutely pivotal for several of the Lakers' championship teams, and he was even the Finals MVP in 1988, as he had one of the greatest Game 7 performances of all time. The legacy of Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and even the Lakers organization isn't nearly as impressive today if James Worthy was not in a purple and gold jersey during the 1980s. The other guy is LeBron James, and he did lead the Lakers to win an NBA championship in 2020, and he's actually spent quite a few years with the team at this point, and he also became the league's all-time leading scorer while he was wearing a purple and gold jersey. For his contribution, and considering the fact that the Lakers have a lower bar, I do think James should get a statue one day outside of Crypto Arena. Players that might be considered but don't make the cut are Pau Gasol and Anthony Davis.
Here's Johnny.
Now notice he calls the Lakers franchise statue happy. Granted, they do have more statues hanging outside their arena than any other NBA franchise. He also mentioned that his logic for granting LeBron James a statue is because the bar is seemingly lower for Laker players to get a statue than any other franchise. But I pose this question to you. Is the bar actually lower? Or do the Lakers just have a rich history of all-time great players that accomplished all-time great things and deserve recognition for it? So before I get into the LeBron James, Pau Gasol thing, let's talk about the players that do have statues. Some of them I don't need to talk about. For example, Shaq. Need I say more? Kobe Bryant. Need I say more? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Need I say more? Magic Johnson. Need I say more? Everybody knows who these players are. Nobody's going to question these four players having statues outside the arena. Their legacy speaks for itself. These are not debatable. Now, as for the other players, some people might raise an eyebrow or bring into question George Mikan, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor having statues. And I think a lot of this has to do with the NBA back then, that era. A lot of days people tend to forget about that era or not acknowledge these guys' accomplishments and championships, specifically George Mikan. I've been a Laker fan my entire life. But people want to count the Lakers championships, but don't want to include George Mikan in anything when he accounts for 5 of those NBA championships. The Minneapolis Lakers. since we're on the topic, George Mikan. If anybody has a question about George Mikan deserving a statue, as if the bar is low, that's how he got a statue, you're wrong. All right? George Mikan played 7 years with the Lakers. Not super long. But in those 7 years, he won 5 championships, like I mentioned, averages of 23 and 13. And to be honest, his first 2 seasons, he gets chicken scratch for rebounds because the NBA didn't start tracking rebounding until the 1950-51 season. Not to mention, he was a part of that team that brought the first ever NBA championship to the Lakers organization. He kickstarted the rich history of gold for the purple and gold. Thank you, George Mikan. You can't question if this guy deserves a statue or not. The bar is not low. He did not get into that statue oasis by walking over a low bar. Jerry West. Some people might question Jerry West because of all the finals losses against that Boston Celtics team especially. But Jerry West, a lifelong Laker guy, played 14 seasons with the purple and gold. 14 seasons, add 1 championship along with that, with averages of 27, damn near 6 rebounds, damn near 7 assists. I think that's statue worthy. He is the logo. He did carry that franchise for 14 seasons. Lengthy playoff runs. 14 seasons. And got a championship. I don't think the bar is low for him. I don't think he walked over a low bar into the oasis of Laker statues. He deserves it. He kept that organization relevant. Help establish the rivalry that goes on today between the Boston Celtics and Los Angeles Lakers. What are we talking about? Elgin Baylor is a guy that most people might say gets the biggest eyebrow because Elgin Baylor doesn't have a championship to his name. But, mind you, Elgin Baylor did play 14 seasons with the Los Angeles Lakers. 14 seasons, lifelong Laker man. With averages of 27, 13 and a half, and 4. The ridiculous longevity and relevancy with the franchise speaks for itself. And that's taken into context his last 2 seasons where he practically didn't play. Played a small amount of games because of a knee injury that required surgery and he tore his Achilles. So those 2 seasons count against his averages. Statistically. No championship, but lifelong Laker fan. All-time great, perennial superstar. Elgin Baylor was on the Lakers from that transition from the Minneapolis Lakers into the Los Angeles Lakers. So Elgin Baylor played with Jerry West, and you can pretty much say they suffered the same fate with all the finals losses. The only thing that sucks about Elgin is that he just missed that championship window. He tore his Achilles, I think the season prior, to the 71-72 season, and he played just under 10 games and decided to just retire, call it quits because the injuries were just nagging him. And that would be the year that the Lakers finally broke through and won the championship. So he just missed that window. Just missed it. The season he retired, a handful of games in, they end up winning it all. Kind of sucks, man. Feel bad for him. Because he would have a title that season. He would have had that championship. So I ask you again, is the bar low? Or does the franchise just have a rich history of elite players that accomplished some amazing things in their career? As for Jonny Arnett's selection of James Worthy, Big Game James, and LeBron James, I have no problem with James Worthy. You're not going to get an argument from me. It makes sense. 12 seasons, lifelong Laker guy, 3 championships, Finals MVP, 17-5 average. And he was a very, 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 very important piece to the success of that organization and that run they had. Me personally, I don't put James Worthy in that same, ilk of superstar like I would a Kobe, Shaq, Kareem, Magic, Jerry West, even Elgin Baylor individually. I don't think he was as good as those guys by any means. But he was still able to shine despite more or less being a second or third option on a Lakers team. Even led the Lakers in scoring for 2 of those championship runs during the postseason. Was able to nab a Finals MVP. So the argument for James Worthy getting a statue is certainly there, right? When people might look at James Worthy, not as good as Elgin Baylor, but he has the championships and the Finals MVP, where Elgin has all the individual statistics and was clearly the better individual player, but never got the championship hardware. It might come down to which career do you value more, which player do you value more when you look at it. But either way, you can go either way with those guys. Now let's get to the elephant in the room. My big issue here. And I've laid out Jonny Arnett's logic and why he's selected that. But I've also gave a rebuttal to his logic and why I disagree with him about the bar being low. There is no way in hell that you can put Pau Gasol honorable mention but give the statue selection to LeBron James. Hell no. Hell no. Period. Right now, as of right now, LeBron James is not deserving of an NBA statue. He's not. Let's take a look at LeBron James. This is going to be his 7th season with the Los Angeles Lakers. With averages of 28-8. He has won championship, albeit from the bubble. He has 2 years of missing the playoffs entirely. One of those playoff absences came during the era of the NBA play-in tournament. Think about that. A time where there's a handicap to help make you make the playoffs and still don't make the playoffs. He made the Western Conference Finals one other time and early playoff exits outside of that and the bubble. Also, during this tenure with the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James has only played at least 70 games once, and 4 of his 7 years, over half of his tenure with the Lakers, 4 of his 7 years, he has played less than 60 games. 4 times, 4 entire seasons, less than 60 games. Either due to some injury, or fake injuries, or load management. Think about that. Some might say, well, George Mikan only played 7 seasons too. Yeah, but in those 7 seasons, George Mikan brought you 5 championships. How the hell you getting a statue when over half your tenure, you played less than 60 games, 1 bubble ring, 1 Western Conference Finals appearance where you got swept, and outside of that, a bunch of early playoff exits or missing the playoffs entirely? Please explain to me how you get a statue with that Lakers legacy. And I don't give a damn about him getting the all-time scoring record in a Laker uniform. To me, that means nothing. When you've played most of your career with other franchises, you just so happen to land on the Lakers. You need a couple more points, and boom, okay, you got the record, and you so happen to be in a Lakers uniform. To me, that means nothing. If he spent his entire career with the Lakers, that's different, but that's not the case. Most of those points were accumulated with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's call it what it is. Now let's get to Pau Gasol, and this is a perfect example because this is about to be LeBron's 7th season. And Pau Gasol played 7 seasons with the Lakers. So Pau Gasol, who Johnny put as an honorable mention and believes LeBron James deserves a statue before Pau. Pau Gasol played 7 seasons with the Lakers. In those 7 seasons, he went to 3 straight NBA Finals. Immediately upon arriving to the franchise, that's somebody with an immediate impact. And in that span, he helped the Lakers as the second best player on the team. Robin to Kobe's Batman went back-to-back as 2-time champions through a gauntlet of a Western Conference at that. That is how important Pau Gasol was to the Lakers franchise. Pau Gasol averaged roughly a shade under 18 points and about 10 rebounds per game as a Laker. With Pau Gasol in a Laker uniform, the Lakers made the playoffs every single year, with the exception of 1 year, the 2013-2014 season, which would be the season Kobe returned briefly after tearing his Achilles tendon, before getting hit with another season-ending injury and surgery after only playing 6 games. And in that season, Pau Gasol only played 60 games, with a roster that was depleted of talent after the abysmal ending of the season prior. With Kobe Bryant being out, Pau Gasol was the best player on the team, and the next best player on the team was probably Nick Young. Or maybe Xavier Henry. Or maybe it was Jordan Farmar. Actually, hold up. Maybe Jody Meeks? You get where I'm going with this. You cannot sit here and tell me that LeBron James currently deserves a statue before Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol has brought much more success to the Lakers, albeit as a Robin, but they don't win those championships without Pau Gasol at all. He was very important. He solidified that triangle offense. He made everything come together. He was the one missing piece that they needed to get over that hump. It's Pau Gasol. You can't be a major cornerstone to that team and that championship run and get overlooked and be an honorable mention while LeBron James gets a selection for a statue. Sorry. I disagree. I disagree, Johnny. I disagree. Everyone knows that LeBron James is a better player than Pau Gasol. But we're talking your tenure as a Los Angeles Laker. What did you do individually? How did you impact the team? What were your contributions to winning? How relevant was your franchise? How many championships did you win? You take all of this and you put it together. And Pau Gasol's resume is better than LeBron James's in those 7 seasons. It's funny, as much as Pau Gasol gets labeled soft, you know, he played more games than LeBron James in a Lakers uniform, played through some injuries, wasn't load managing or doing anything like that. Crazy. But Pau Gasol gets labeled soft. I mean, if you're going to give a statue to LeBron James, you might as well give a statue to Anthony Davis too. Because many people will sit here and argue that that Finals MVP should have went to Anthony Davis. But you don't hear people out here saying Anthony Davis deserves a statue. Hell no. Personally, do I think Pau Gasol deserves a statue? No. But if you're going to sit here and say LeBron James deserves one, then I'm going to say, well, Pau Gasol deserves one before LeBron James if we're going to play that game. If we're going to play that game, then yes, one should be honorable mention. And that honorable mention should be LeBron James. And Pau should be the selectee if we're going to play that game. But if you ask me, LeBron, Pau, and AD do not deserve a statue. Hey, that's just my thoughts. That's just my opinions. By saying LeBron James deserves a statue, I think you, Jonny Arnett, are thus setting the bar low. You've set the bar low. Like I said, I agree with typically 95% of everything Jonny Arnett says and does. He's exceptional. He's great at what he does. He's fantastic. But this one, I have to be like, I'm not rocking with you, Johnny. Not here. Not here, not now. This ain't happening, Johnny. I'm going to have to call you out on this one, buddy. I'm sorry. I disagree. Let me know what you think about it. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.